Hey, real quick while I've got you, I want to remind you that my final Honest Art Workshop of 2025 is going to be here in Austin, Texas, October 22nd through 26th. And I know the idea of taking a workshop can feel really vulnerable and sometimes a little scary, but it truly is the fastest way to elevate your art. So whether you're a beginner or you've been painting for a while, I can tell you that this workshop will help you elevate your art to that fine art status, and it'll help you find and embrace your voice, your signature in your work. So if this sounds good, don't sleep on it because the workshop is already half full and it will sell out. So go to the link in the show notes if you would like to join me in Austin in October. Hello there. Welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I am your host, Jodie King, and I'm so happy that you have joined us again for this new season, actually, for the Honest Art Podcast. We have now done this 120 times. This will be our 121st episode, and I just love getting your feedback. We're hearing over and over again that the content that we're sharing with you has been really helpful. So I'm glad you're here. And this week is going to be no exception to that. Now, I think it's important to share a little bit about why we're talking about why we as artists need to connect to our purpose rather than just our process. And this, I cannot overstate the importance of this, by the way. So one of the reasons this has come up is because in my membership, the Honest Art Society, so many great artists within that membership, so great. But within the membership, we do an optional art critique every month. Right? Again, optional. You don't have to do it. But within the critique, as we're on the call, one of the things that I will say is to the artist, so tell me about this piece. Tell me about the connection to the piece. And inevitably, I'm going to say like 90% of the time, the artist will start telling me about the process. Well, I wanted some bright colors, and then I decided to use a little mixed media, and then I grabbed this, and then I some layers. So if this sounds familiar to you, if when somebody asks you about your art, you are talking about your process, then there is a possibility that you might be detached from the purpose of the art or how you relate to the art. And this can happen, by the way, it can sneak up on us over time. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the things that can happen and why this happens. And then we're going to talk about what we can do to connect again so deeply to our art that other people can't help but connect to it as well. So if you're ready, let's get messy. All right, so one of the things that can happen to us where we start to disconnect from our art a little bit is due to social media, okay? So not only does scrolling through social media, and listen, I love to do this too, not only does scrolling through social media, looking at people's art inspire us, but it can also trigger something within us of a lot of comparison. And then we show up with our own art practice and we start thinking, is this social media worthy? Is this, Instagrammable, right? And when we start looking at our art from that lens, basically we're looking at it through the lens of someone else or what someone else might think or see or feel about our art, then we automatically disconnect from that ourselves. What we lean into then is, how many likes will this get? How many comments will it get? I wonder if it will sell. That'll take us out of the connection to our art like that. The other thing that can happen is we can start thinking, is it good enough, right? It's good enough for social media. Well, anytime we look at our painting or maybe it's sculpture or whatever it might be, and we think, I mean, it's good enough. It's good enough, right? Anytime we think that, it's has lost the sexy, beautiful, important richness of art itself. And we can't rob other people of the experience of that art. But more importantly, we are robbing ourselves of experiencing the fullness of creating art that feels purposeful for us. The other thing that can happen is we can get so attached to the idea that something has to be perfect, that within the perfectionism of that, it can lose a little bit of its soul. And I know for me, I don't know if this happens with you guys, but sometimes I will be working on a piece and I will start thinking, well, it needs a little bit of this and needs a little bit of that. And all of those things are happening up in my head. And whenever I am painting from that way, from more of my head space versus my heart space, then like I said, it kind of loses that soul a little bit. Now, remember I said we're going to talk about why this happens and what we can do about it. So one of the reasons this happens is, you know how you're going through the creative process and you're like, it starts off nice and fun and then it gets a little tricky and then it all turns to fugly, right? We are stuck right in the fuglies. So once we get into the fuglies, that's a great time to actually pop back into our head and start discerning, how can I make this better? Or what is it I can do? How can I get unstuck? Is this composition issue? Is this a values issue? What is it? Great time to pop up into that, the head to the left side, that discerning side. Great time. But we don't want to stay there. Okay. We got to get into that, like, how can I improve this? But then we've got to remember to drop back into our body and drop back into that zone. We got to drop back into that flow state so that we continue to pour that really soulful, magnetic energy into our work. So maybe this is you right now. Maybe you're feeling like you're disconnected from your work, or you're looking at it and you're like, what is this missing? Well, sometimes it's missing us. Sometimes it's missing the soul. So if you've heard me talk for any amount of time, when I've talked about the 4 elements of fine art, the 4 elements are values and color cohesiveness, composition, but the 4th one is you. It's you in your art and your voice within your art. So if we were just talking about process and not the purpose behind the art, or with our purpose as artists, then we're going to lose the us. We're going to lose the artist within the art. Okay, now this last one about one of the reasons we can get away from our true heart's desire and start slipping into process a little bit more is when we shy away from vulnerability within our work. So vulnerability is the secret sauce for us as artists. And sometimes I feel like it's easier to explain vulnerability in terms of music. So there's a song right now that's out that I love it. It's Matt McGowan. I can't remember the name of the artist, but the melody is I'm a little bit hurt, but I'm a lot more free. And I just thought the vulnerability that it took to be like, yeah, I am feeling hurt, but at the same time I'm free. And, and you call that out. So any sort of like vulnerability that can be added to music makes the listener connect to that and like, yes, like absolutely. And it is the same for painting. I don't care if you're painting an apple or you're painting abstract expressionism or you're painting a landscape. How can you feel into yourself and just be as honest as you can? Because really, isn't that what vulnerability is? It's feeling safe enough to express yourself honestly. And then, you know where I'm going with this, right? And that's what creates honest art. So if you feel like you are a little too much in your head and you're really talking a lot about your process, ask yourself, am I being vulnerable enough within my work so that it can be so honest, so that when somebody asks me about my art, I can really speak to what this art is about at a heart level, at a soul level, my own personal connection to it. Can we speak about it in that way so that they can connect to it and hopefully, you know, sell a piece of art or two? But even if you don't sell it, just to be able to move people with your art is really a remarkable thing. Okay, so now we've talked about why this can happen. Now let's talk about what are some of the things that we can do to connect again to that purpose so that we can get out a little bit of the process and connect again to our art. Especially, by the way, if you are an artist who maybe is feeling a little bored with your art. This happens to me, especially as I find my art is morphing and that my style may be morphing. My style might be changing a little bit. There are certain things like if I'm like, okay, I'm really bored with this right now. Why am I bored with this? Why has it been a month or two since I've been in the studio? Well, that's usually because you're bored with it, or you're either bored with it or you know it's going to turn fugly, so you stay out of it, right? But either way, here are some things that you can do so you can get right back to it, right back to the studio and connect to your art again at a soul level. Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you that one thing I know for sure, that in order for artists to thrive, they need community, they need support, and they need business and creative skills. And that's why I created my membership group called the Honest Art Society. Within the Honest Art Society, I offer coaching calls every month. You get monthly art critiques as well. You get trainings on everything from creative techniques to business skills, and you get exclusive discounts on workshops and courses, but maybe most importantly is you get a community of amazing, kind artists, all in an asshole-free zone. So if you'd love to join us in the Honest Art Society, you can go to the link in the show notes. The cost is only $47 a month, and you can cancel at any time. I'd love to see you there. Okay, so one of the things that I like to do when I get into the studio is I like to ask myself, what needs to be expressed today? What is it that is going on with me today that if I expressed it, number one, I would feel better. But what is going on with me? What needs to be said? What needs to be felt? What needs to be expressed so that I am staying with honest art? And oftentimes I don't know what that is because of my brain. You know, I'm so ADD. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm easily distracted. I'm so easily distracted. I'm just laughing because some things came up earlier today and I was like, squirrel, so easily distracted. So what I have to do is I have to have a practice of meditating before I ever paint. Now, will I not do that sometimes? Absolutely, because I can be such a dumbass and forget. But when I don't meditate, oh my gosh, it is like wrestling a painting to the ground. It just seems to take so much longer, so much effort, so much more frustration than if I just take 5 minutes to meditate and ground myself. Because when I do that, like I said, it quiets my mind, or it quiets it a little more than what it is. It quiets my mind, and then I'm able to be really present. So I do know what is it that I need to express today. What is it that I feel like needs to be said within the art? But without that meditation, it's really hard to do. Can you guys, if y'all are on YouTube, can you see my cat Lucy right now is really trying to steal the show. Okay, settle in. You good? Okay. All right. Another thing that I like to do to really connect to my work sometimes is to journal. Now, the thing about journaling is, in some ways, it's similar to meditation in that if our mind is all over the place, then it's really hard to kind of zone in when we approach the canvas. But what journaling can do sometimes is it can give us an opportunity to like brain dump, right? Just like everything that's going on, whether I need to go to the grocery store, I need to empty the dishwasher, I need to call this person back, I need to schedule a hair appointment, like all of these things that are going on in my brain. If I'll take a minute to do that brain dump, and by the way, this is especially important if you are going through a really stressful time or you have things that you feel like are out of your control. If you can do a brain dump in a journal, and then sometimes I like to take a little bit further and then grab some paint and like get some of that movement going with paint. That will really help me to start to connect to myself, right? Because that's where it starts. We have to connect to ourselves first. Then if I start from there in that space and then move onto the canvas, it goes so much better. Now, one of the things I hope you are hearing from all of this is that I think there is a tendency to think that making art is something that happens outside of ourselves, right? It's like we've got the paintbrush, we've got the paint, we've got the canvas, and it's out there. But the foundation of great art is always in here. The foundation for great art is always within us. That's why I keep saying, if we are not connected to ourselves and we are not connected to the art, how are we supposed to have anyone else connect to our art? So when I'm talking about meditating and I'm talking about journaling, I'm talking about all of that, that is starting within us. Okay, now, one more thing that I find really, really helpful about connecting to our art is just a commitment to messy, right? So if we have all of these ideas ahead of time, if we're like, okay, you know what, I want to do this particular painting and I want it to have this background, or like we're attached to an outcome, right? We're attached to already, we are on the left side of our brain, up in our head, thinking this is what I want it to be. But what if you committed to showing up childlike, to like, what would a 4-year-old do when they showed up and you gave them finger paint? Can you imagine? Like, it makes me giddy to think about it. I wish I could just like, I can do that. What am I saying? I wish I can do that. You can do it too. But committing to messy instead of committing to an outcome will change everything. And sometimes it will surprise you. Like sometimes I'll do this and I'll step away from the canvas and I'll be like, what the hell was that about? What is going on? I mean, it'll be just, I'll be like, is that what's going on in my brain? That's a little scary, right? Or is that what's going on with me? That's a little interesting. But it's always creates a foundation for something really, really interesting. Even if it's just one of the layers that happens, committing to messy, you guys, that is committing to play. And as Albert Einstein says, I think it's Albert Einstein. People have said it was him or not. But the greatest form of intelligence is play, right? So play, commit to messy, and you are going to find that you're going to connect to your art in a whole nother level. So within all of these things, so we've given you some options to get back into the soul of your art, to your personal connection and your purpose with it all. I just want to remind you that imperfection, showing up imperfect, your art being imperfect, your art being raw is, that should be a goal, right? Showing up loud in a world where we are constantly told to be quiet. Showing up big in a world where we're constantly told to be smaller. All of these things, remembering all of these things within ourselves, and then showing up to the canvas and just saying, what is going to happen? Like, how can I surprise myself? How can I be in awe of what comes out of me, rather than being so committed to the process? Be committed to the awe of the fact that you are an artist to begin with. So I hope that's helpful. I can tell you nothing but good will come from art that feels more purposeful and more honest. Okay, until next time, please be sure to, if you're on the an audio app, if you could give us a 5-star rating and a review, I would love you forever and ever. If you are watching this on YouTube, it would mean so much if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean everything to me. So thank you so much. Until next time, take really good care of yourselves and each other. Peace out.